Fantasy Six-Pack Hour with your hosts, Joe Bob and AJ Applegarth.
All right, welcome to the Fantasy Six-Pack Hour. My name is Joe Bond, founder of FantasySixPack.net.
I was waiting for it.
Why don't we just set it up so it starts?
I did it on purpose this time so that he would switch you.
I mean, we already all know that
just to see if
Dap is the bottom here.
It's a running bit at this point.
Yes, it is. It totally is. If you're only listening, the little videos for AJ and Dap always get swapped because AJ gets put in the bottom of the pyramid.
And he gets so angry and he's like, I don't want to be here.
We get little private chat messages yelling at us.
I told you guys my contract's up.
Yeah.
We're already off the rails at this point. If you were here for the pre-show, this is going to be a good one. I promise you.
I think Nick's doing a bit, to be honest with you, at this point.
Okay.
I mean, he won't admit it, but I think he's just doing a bit the whole time. That's just me.
He's here to please, right? Is that how it goes, Dap?
Yeah, I think so.
That's what Dap wants.
Yeah, just and all the puns he was throwing earlier.
Dappy
He's like, is this the After Dark show? And like, Nick, whoa, no, sir, no, sir.
I feel like I got to defend
himself. Let's move on.
I'm gonna say I feel like I got to do the friendly producer thing and put him in here to defend himself.
So we do have our guest. It is Nick Pollock from Pitcher List. We will bring him on in just a second, but before we do that,
the Nick Pollock, please. The V, it's in its the Nick Pollock. Get it right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it like the Ohio State University?
Yeah. I mean, you know how we just so everybody knows here, the audience, right? In the show thing, we actually use the in all capitals Nick. And so I personally, he's been a hero of mine for quite some time. So just letting you know, this is amazing to me. This is probably one of the greatest experiences of my life. So
we are 2.5 minutes into the show and gotten absolutely nothing done. This is fantastic. I love it. But we probably have like record number of viewers, so maybe let's just keep going. No, seriously. We're here talking pitchers today, our pitching draft strategy and preview. Before we move on, though, just hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave those comments. We appreciate it. We love hearing from you. And, of course, jump over to FantasySixPack.net. Become an all-access member. You're going to get access to our award-winning rankings, our draft cheat sheets, which I just revamped thanks to Keith Lott and Dave Eddy's suggestions. Those went live this afternoon. And then, of course, our Discord, where you get access to all of us here on screen, including and all the rest of the analysts over there at Fantasy Six Pack as well. Let's bring on our guest, Nick.
Yeah, I want him on a flight. His name is Dap Scout. He's gonna come. He's gonna come here. He's gonna flight over. Oh, I gotta go. Bye. Hey guys, what's going on? How we doing?
What's up?
How we doing?
Nick's intern. I gotta write in something else.
What's happening? Thanks so much for having me here.
Oh man, this is tremendous. Wow. I can't even tell you how excited I am right now.
If you hear random like dead thuds throughout the show, it's Dap. And it's his desk.
Dap. Nope.
It could be any Nick.
From that comment.
Yeah. Anyway, hi. It's great to see you guys. We do have a thing that's after dark. It's called Plaid. Pitcher List after it's dark.
Oh, nice.
And that's because we don't curse at Pitcher List, but those that would constantly do in the voice chat, we said after 9 p.m. there's a voice chat in our Discord that you can go into, and you're allowed to curse in that one. I don't go in there. Of course, that's not for me.
Right.
But that's for the staff in the community.
No.
They need it.
Yeah.
Dap runs that channel for you.
No, I don't know. Have you joined our Discord, Dap?
I have joined your Discord many a times, and the fact that you don't know that hurts my feelings even worse.
Well, the fact that you don't know Plaid.
We've talked about my pancakes username on Discord, but it's okay. I don't take it personal.
Yeah. Medium rare pancakes, by the way, all the way, completely.
Medium
Anyone
rare.
likes- Yes.
What is that a thing?
Well,
it's
it's
called
slightly
batter.
undercooked
Like
pancakes.
just batter?
Yeah, yeah.
No, that's why it's medium rare.
Get with the times, old man.
It's
You know,
batter.
it's not like okay,
that's
look. It's not
got
like
a nice
after the
sear
cow,
to
you don't
it.
eat it right away. Even that's
Yeah.
not what rare is either, right? It's like it's still
Okay.
cooked.
Is
And
this
then
like
medium
putting
rare is
cookie
like
dough in the
Okay,
oven?
hold
for
on a
like
second,
2
Nick.
minutes?
Okay, so walk me through the process.
Like
You
a
got
gooey-
the
it's like
spoon,
a
you got a
gooier
hot,
cookie.
you got a hot
Like a
pan.
pancake. Yeah.
How long?
Put it on
How
there.
long you putting it on? How long you putting it on each side?
You get a good feel for it. You see the bubbles.
Uh-huh.
See the bubbles happen, then you flip it over. You make sure it's a hot pan. Do it
Uh-huh.
again. You give like a good pacing to it, and then we
Okay.
feel like there's at least like a consistency where it's going to hold. You pull it off.
But it still feels a little like a stress ball type of situation. Like it feels like there's still a
Is
little
that what you
bit
do with
of-
your pancakes? You
No, I'm just wondering because I mean, I don't know what
He
medium.
needs
I'm
them
trying to figure
like
out
a
what the
cat.
consistency is.
well, it's it's like a chewy cookie kind of thing. Like it's instead of
Chewy.
like a fully baked cookie, it's like a chewier cookie.
Have you ever
Think of
had
it like
soft
that as
batch
an analogy.
cookies?
It's so good.
It's
You
like
gotta
it's
do it.
like the soft batch versus the regular Chips Ahoy.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'm just making notes, Nick, just so you know, because as you know, I like to always have the breakfast of champions, and since you're
course.
the biggest champion I know, I want to eat what you're eating.
Oh well, thank you so much. And I do want to make another clarification. My sister went to Michigan, so please never compare me to the Ohio State University ever again.
Oh,
Yes.
I never did. I just was
Yeah.
trying to. Yeah,
But
sorry
it was
about
the
that.
analogous. I understand it's not you,
I-
Dad.
I-
It's more on Joe. Don't ever bring them
yeah.
up when I'm on.
Yeah.
the
Oh,
show.
hey, that's fine with me. I
hate Ohio State.
I'm not a huge fan of Ohio State
Hate.
because I ran into a few fans in a hotel lobby one time, and I was like, "Oh, you guys go to Ohio State? Cool, in Virginia Tech." And they were like, "Ohio State? No, we go to the Ohio State." And I was like,
Oh no.
"That's
No,
what
you
I
don't.
said."
How many Ohio States are there?
Exactly my point. I told them
Think
that, and they
there's
got
one.
super offended, and I was like, "Well, now I don't like you."
I mean, there's
Congratulations.
multiple Nicks, but there's only one.
It's
I mean,
true. And you didn't specify which
All right,
intern.
we've
you
already
were.
dedicated way too much time to Ohio State. So
I
let's
agree.
Hi
move
guys.
on.
Thanks so
I
much for
agree.
bringing me on.
Yeah. By the way, Ypsilanti, Michigan, phenomenal place. I love one of my favorite places to go. All right, go ahead.
I don't know where we are anymore. AJ, you just want to get started with the first question? I think we're just
Sure.
ready to start.
Yeah,
you ready?
I think-
You ready
I
to go?
think so.
Nick?
Sounds great.
I'm totally out of line here.
All right. So tonight is our obviously pitcher show. So we are kicking it off here. Basically, everyone that we know drafting right now is picking between Stash Strider and Garrett Cole as the top two starting pitching picks. In most of my drafts, Strider pretty much seems like he's going about 8-9 picks before Cole. How big of a difference in value do you see between these two, Nick?
I'm not getting either one.
Fair enough.
I think that the value of hitters really the first 3 rounds or so, 3 to 4, is so much. The gap between those guys and the guys later on the draft, or really or you could say 5 through 10, that gap much larger for hitters than it is pitchers. So it means for me, yeah, I want to get the hitter value instead, and to be able to get my pitchers 5th, 6th, 7th or so. But between Strider and Cole, Strider is clearly the SB1 at this point. I was more on the side of Cole initially, and I actually have a lot of concerns, like little minor ones about Cole, but it wasn't as sturdy of a deck to stand on with Cole on my team. So the fastball got a little bit worse as he introduced the cutter, even though the cutter helped and made the shape worse for his four-seamer, which isn't a great thing to hear about really one of the most stalwart fastballs in the game. You have a slider that wasn't located as well and had a massive drop in how many whiffs it earned, which, again, not a good thing. So I'm not as confident in Cole, while it seems like Strider's getting better and in a really great team situation as well. And I'd just rather I would have Strider. So if I am saying oh man, do I want to get Strider now or settle for Cole 8 picks later, then I guess I would go Strider. But I'm not really getting either one.
All right. Fair enough. Dap, we'll move to you. What are your thoughts on these two?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've never been one of those pocket aces guys. I like to wait on pitchers. I think it's kind of interesting that Nick will wait because, of course, he knows every pitcher, like you just throw out a name and he'll pick out the ERA. So of course he can wait, right? Because he's to know about the guy who used to be a janitor and is now the sixth pitcher in the rotation. But for the rest of us, our normal people, I don't know, man. I would definitely pick Strider over Cole, but I mean, Atlanta is such a powerhouse this year. You are hoping everybody in New York stays healthy for the other aspects of the thing, and also, that home run ball he keeps giving up. He seems to have these streaks with Cole that you're just like he's giving up meatballs. Then, of course, being the veteran that he is, he fixes it. So I'm definitely going to go with Strider, but I'm like Nick, man. With this particular case, I will never get either one unless I'm in an auction draft because I'm holding off on getting pitchers for at least round 3.
All right, Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's Strider. I had Strider in a few leagues last year, and the second half, mild struggles he had. He had a few blow up appearances, and it was kind of like, what the hell is going on over here? Like, at least he was striking out 10 guys. Like that's kind of the saving grace with him. But I think he'll get that figured out. He's too good not to get that figured out. I mean, still, even with all that, a 3.8 ERA, not too bad. Cole kind of righted the ship with his ERA, brought it back down to 2.6. But again, like you were saying, Nick, it was losing a take on that fastball. I mean, still 222 strikeouts, nothing to sneeze at. Like that's really damn good. But the strikeouts that Strider is gonna get you is just out of this world, so much better. So that makes the separation just enough for me.
Yeah, definitely. Those are your projections in the second tier there. Is that right?
Yeah. So this is a little
cool.
wonky of a slide, but yeah. So the top.
No, I love it. No, I didn't.
And then the
I
bottom
couldn't
is
recognize it
projections.
at first. I was like, oh wait, that's got to be the orange you guys use on your site and everything. So that's cool.
Yeah. So
All
good
right.
call out there. Should have explained that.
Yeah, I will make it a clean sweep here. I would, if I have to choose between these two, I'm going with Strider, but I agree. I don't think I'm getting either one of them in probably any leagues this year. So that's fine with me. All right, so let's jump into some Orioles talk. I feel like we have to have this on every show since Joe and I are both fans. So let's go with Corbin Burns, the new guy on the block here. Do we think that he's going to bounce back and succeed in the AL East here? Joseph, we're going to start with you. Want to hear your thoughts on Burns first, and then we're going to talk Grayson Rodriguez, whether or not he's ready for this full breakout. And who do we trust as the closer, Kimbrel or Cano? Joe, we'll start with you.
Yeah, so a little bit about Burns here. I wrote about him in the early top 10 pitchers, and I had Burns third, still do. I know a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth from Burns last season. He started off pretty slow. There was a lot of chatter on Twitter all over the place. Oh, is he hurt? Is he hurt? Is he hurt? Is he going to get shut down? We don't know. Yeah, maybe he was pitching through something. I don't actually know. But whatever it was, he figured it out in the second half. I mean, he brought his ERA down a full point, a full run, and then some. Strikeouts were back up. Batting average against was down. Everything was looking like the Corbin Burns we all remember seeing, and drafted at that high for a reason. So I'm a firm believer that he's going to come over and be perfectly fine. I know the AL East is tough, but I mean, hey, at least it's actually a slight improvement in ballpark now, which is weird to say. For years, Camden Yards was a horrible place for a pitcher, but not so much anymore.
So it's safe to say that you are not getting heartburns with Corbin here. Is that where we're going?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'm here for it. Silence across the room.
All right.
That one did not land.
That would have been the perfect time for a cricket.
Whatever the mouth, and I'm like, mouth burns something.
No,
gotta go. And I was like, all right, I got it. And then you wouldn't shut up. So I didn't want to interrupt your nice little monologue there. So Nick, what do you think about Corbin?
Well, I mean, it's not a down year, right? 3.390 ERA with a solid whip, and like 200 strikeouts.
I
I
think
understand that it's not
that's pretty good.
240, but I actually thought it was a down year myself. At first, I'm like, wait, hold on. This was actually really good. I think it was a 105 whip, if I remember correctly, or something close to that.
Yeah, 107.
Uh, and yeah, that's
solid,
just
yeah.
what? Like, this is great. What's also kind of cool is that he can improve in pretty much every way. His against right-handers, obviously the cutter was everything, but all of the other pitches did not earn enough strikes. Generally the threshold I have is 60% strikes is a reliable offering. And really you aim for like at least one of your secondaries to be like a 65% strike rate. None of his matched 60% or higher. So he can do better with his sinker inside. He can do better with his curveball slider. Any of those can be much better against right-handers, and that's a pretty simple change actually for something that has earned strikes in the past. It also meant that his cutter had to do more than, which then he allowed more mistakes on it. Against lefties, he's pretty much golden. It's a cutter, so cutters are the magic silver bullet against opposite-handed batters. You throw it inside if you need to. You throw it down and away as a backdoor. Like it's always just good. And Corbin Burns is going to be totally fine against lefties. So just throw more strikes against righties, and he should be fine. And then you throw in the context of pitching in Baltimore, as you guys were mentioning, like that's a great situation. That's so good. So huge fan of this. I originally had Burns at like I want to say 6 in October, then I moved him up to 4, and then I moved him up to 3 after the trade. So I'm in here. I think he's going to be great.
All right. Anything to add, Dap?
Yeah, I think the main key, if you're watching anything in spring training, right, you don't really look at ERA because they're always trying to work on a pitch or things like that. But if Corbin Burns is locating his sinker, especially during spring training, that's going to be kind of the big thing for me. I mean, again, going back to what Nick said, right? Is it really a down year? I mean, yes, if you had really lofty hopes for Corbin Burns last year, but I think it's only going to help him. He's going to Orioles. They have a lot of aspects, and he's going to have, I think a better defense definitely behind him as well. There's some other areas that trade that really, stick out as well. Ortiz going just fantastic. But going back to the sinker, I think the sinker is going to be kind of the thing. It looked like it was a little bit all over the place last year, especially with his location for it. So if he can find a way to really locate that sinker in spring training and hopefully with the drive line, if he did that, then I definitely expect just nothing but good things for him this year.
All right. Moving on into Grayson Rodriguez here. We also got his stats here. Joe, what do you think about Grayson?
Yeah, I'm optimistic with him, but also a little hesitant. I mean, still a young kid. He struggled first time up there, and then once he got called back up, it was a totally different pitcher. I mean,
right.
He was like 11 Ks per 9 in the first half, and then came back and was like he was below 9 per 9. So you want to see more strikeouts, but I mean the fact that his ERA dropped 5 runs, you'll take that any day, and losing a couple strikeouts because he was getting obliterated at first. Like he looked like he didn't belong. So whatever he did when he went back down, working with that tremendous staff that they have there in Baltimore and that organization right now, really paid dividends. And yeah, I mean, I'm drafting him probably around SP. Oh, what do I have him at? Like, I think it's probably around like SP like 25-ish, maybe 30 at the latest. So I'm pretty optimistic with him.
All right, Nick.
Man, 25-30. I think you're not getting Grayson, I think, if you have him around there. Maybe I'm wrong about it.
Trying to figure out where I do have him.
Yeah, I haven't really looked at ADP lately, especially for like.
Yeah, that might be too low. I'm trying to think of where I got him now. I need to look it
but
up.
no, I understand why you'd feel that way because his four-seamer was hit really hard. We have a stat called ICR, which is ideal contact rate. Essentially, it's really simple. It's saying, hey, all the batted ball types that hitters have that are good for them, like barrel rate and solid hit rate and flares and burners, which are great for them. Let's just bucket them all together and let's see how often I throw this pitch and it results in that, right? So the contact allowed by Grayson Rodriguez had like a 45 to 50% ICR on the fastball, which is so high. Like if I see 40%, I'm like, that's like average and I want it to be better than average. And 45 is like, dude, no, that can't be the main thing you throw. And that's kind of how it was for Grayson, even when he returned from the minors. The good news is that he is incorporating a sinker this year, and that should help mitigate that one. He does need to improve his command. I watched the other start again in the spring, and at least the last one, not good. Not spotting well, not locating properly, missing east-west a ton. And I'm very much of a person that when it comes to pitching analysis, I'm just all about like, all right, is this a fastball I trust? And then does he have secondaries he can get strikes with? And then can he get whiffs with those? And just kind of bucketing that all together. And Grayson has it. Like the changeup and slider can look absurdly good. I think what I've done is said normally sophomore pitchers who are four-seamer focused get better in their second season. That's just generally what we've seen. Best example I can give you is George Kirby. Though if they don't have good command, it's like Logan Gilbert. So I'm on the fence. And at first in February, I was really aggressive about it. I said, you know what, I'm going to do this because I just feel the fastball's like 98 and like he has such good extension and he has a flat arm angle, which makes it so that the four seamers that throws upstairs are more difficult to hit. And then he has this changeup that should be filthy and the slider's filthy and the team context is so good and whatever, let's have fun. Let's go get Grayson. And now I'm like, but is this command good enough? I don't know. So I'm on the fence about it. I think I had him around like 15 or 16 in my February ranks. I'm putting out another edition of it, or an update, I should say, on Monday. He might still be there. I don't know. I'm back and forth.
I've actually got him at
21.
21.
Anywhere
I just
between like
looked up.
18 and yeah, I can see him anywhere between like 18 and 20 in my rankings, or not 18 and 20. I'm sorry, like 15 and like 22 or something in my ranks. So I don't know how I feel yet. And I find myself being able to get him in the 7th. And considering that like I'd go for like Cole Reagan's in the 5th or like Bobby Miller in the 6th or something like that. If Grayson Rodriguez is there as my 3rd, it's like, all right, that sounds pretty good. I would go with that.
All right. Great analysis. Dap?
Yeah, I think it's a great analysis. Thank you for taking the words out of my mouth. Everything that Nick says is great
Anytime.
analysis. But yeah, no, I think
That's why I'm the host.
There's not much I can add, of course. Anytime I have to go after Nick, there's not much I can say there. But at the same time, I think when I look at second-year pitchers, I really like to find ones that had some type of have to work with some type of issues during that first year. If everything's kind of roses, then I'm really worried about year 2. But the fact that Grayson had so many problems, kind of had to work through them and make those adjustments. And you saw that he made adjustments that obviously worked for him because of the improvements in the stats. That to me definitely bodes well, not only for his prospect pedigree, but that second year as well. So when he does get hit hard, what is he doing? But yes, the control is going to be the big thing as well with him, as with every pitcher, but mostly with the younger ones as well. When they're throwing that, but I love seeing the fact that he's throwing that new pitch. I'm pretty. Of course, I love the home ballpark as well. Definitely friendly to the long ball. So I don't know. I'm pretty much. I don't want to be like this because of the fact that I have a boss that's going to be like, oh God, he picked an Oriole too. But yes, I really like Grayson Rodriguez right now. So I don't want to say too much because I'm sure Nick's going to write a 4,000-word opus next week and tell me why I'm an idiot. But for right now, I'm liking some Grayson.
It would be 5,000 words.
What does that have to do with
5,000 words. I
Grayson?
apologize.
No, I think you made a really good point there. I loved it. I am a big fan of seeing young arms after they go through adversity.
Right.
When they first show up, they usually are a little bit better. They have adrenaline going. Then it's going to be tough. And normally after they recover for a much longer period of time. So I love that you brought that up. That's a great point.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of adversity, he.
I just want to put in the minute mark of when I got a compliment. Hold on one second.
You knew it was coming,
24,
Dad.
29.
Okay.
Speaking
right,
of
let's do this.
adversity, he faced some pretty heavy adversity in the playoffs last year against the obvious ultimate World Series champions in Texas when he got completely shelled at his home ballpark. So good way to end the season if you're looking for having a lot of adversity and using that as fuel to fire for this year. So, last topic we have here with the O's, like I mentioned, is the closer situation with Kimbrel Cano. Dap, why don't you keep going? I just want to hear your voice a little bit more.
So, as anybody's ever listened to me, if you're in a saves only league, get out now. It should be saves hold. I'm sorry, I'm going to scream that to the top. So yeah, my disclaimer right there, saves and holds. It's ridiculous to be closers. I know that Nick has an amazing closer article that is 10,000 words. But yeah,
that's Rick Graham. He does all of that and the saves and holds. They're so good. I don't do any of that.
But you make him good by being next to him.
No,
you're like the SP1 next to the SP2. Okay,
Rick Graham, I'm so lucky to work with him.
Oh, I'm lucky to read him. So anyways, so yeah, Kimbrel Cano. I have Cano in probably about 75% of my dynasty leagues. So when I saw Kimbrel come in, I was super upset at first, and then I was like, "Is it though?" Because I have a feeling that if Kimbrel takes off, I have almost zero doubt that the Orioles don't try to trade him for another piece. Whether that be for starting pitcher or whatever, because they have so many bullpen arms that I think they can go with a cheaper version with Cano, who just shows kind of that light out tendency. And if anything, he learns from Kimbrel, right? But I think Kimbrel's gone midseason. If anything, if they need an extra asset, I just see closers being so cheap in the sense of, going to somebody else that they don't move up with Cano. So yeah, I would put Kimbrel as, one-ish, but if he stumbles or anything, I think they kind of move him around if need be, because they have such a deep bullpen, and Cano is just so talented. I'm a much more Cano believer. I think Kimbrel's a little bit been in the oven a little too long.
Yeah, not like the pancakes we were talking about earlier. Joseph, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Dab. I was actually kind of surprised they brought in a guy like Kimbrel. I thought they would bring in some bullpen help, but I didn't know they would bring in a closer. But Cano proved himself once the injury happened there. But yeah, it is what it is. I mean, right now, I do think this is going to be Kimbrel's job out of the gate. But we'll see. I mean, I think this team is trying to compete this year. So any struggles, I think they would quickly go to Cano at least temporarily until Kimbrel figured things out. I'm not so sure about the trade thing. Kimbrel, I believe, is on a 1 year, basically a rental contract. So
perfect to trade him.
I mean, I would say just
trade him anyways. Just trade him anyways.
I mean, I guess.
I'm right, Joe.
Okay. Whatever you say.
You're wrong, Dap.
Man.
I think that's. Imagine it's a scenario where Kimbrel is doing well enough that Kimbrel is, something that another team would want or something like that. Then why would you ruin what's working? It's a lot to ask, saying, "Oh no, our bullpen is really great. We're just going to take this risk." When it's proven often that if there is a bullpen that is cooking, those guys can make playoff runs. And if Kimbrel is looking good, then they're going to treat that like a huge asset for the playoffs. It would be playing with fire a bit if he's in a situation where he is looking great and then they deal him for something else. I also would think that the rotation wouldn't be a piece that they would trade for, because they will, crossing my fingers, have Bradish back and Means back and Grayson's there, and they have Cole Irvin throwing harder, and they have a lot of interesting arms that are in their farm system. They even have Cade Povich and Chase McDermott and Justin Armbruster. But then there's this guy, Albert Suarez, that they found on the backfields throwing 3 innings at 96, 97, earning all the whiffs and 7 strikeouts. What is this? I don't get it. And it's amazing and awesome. And it just, I also wouldn't be surprised if Kimbrel's not allowed to be traded, or if he has his 10-5 rule, or even something like that.
Fine. I'm not going to be a GM, Nick. I'm sorry. I won't be a GM. All right. You ruined my dream. All right. Fine. I get it. I get
Your
it. No,
dream is you woke up and like, what do I want to dream in life? It's that Kimbrel gets traded halfway through.
No, I thought for once I was going to be like, man, I'm going to bring in this idea that Kimbrel's going to be traded if, to fill up, because nobody's going to get injured in the Orioles starting rotation at all, ever. So I was like, I'm going to wow Nick with my insight. And he said no. So thank you, Nick.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
We got 2 comments I want to throw on the screen here from Chad Simpson.
Hey, Chad.
I agree on some of the Kimbrel logic, but we also have Dylan Tate lurking, who might be a better fit as a closer over Cano. Thoughts on that one, Nick, as you got covered up by the comment?
How dare you? No, it's good to see that.
Here, we'll fix it.
The way I see it is like, look,
I was just gonna say, just
not necessary whatsoever. No, it's look. Let's look at it this way. Kimbrel's the closer. I'm all in for this. I think Kimbrel's pretty good. Sure, if he's gonna have his stumbles and everything like that, but Kimbrel still has good enough stuff and everything. Like he's fine and he's a good addition for them. Cano can then be used in high leverage situations. If Tate is looking great, awesome. Then he'll be used in high leverage situations. Yeah, Kimbrel's a closer. It's a great position to be in. And time again, you see managers say, hey, we like having distinct roles. I do this in coaching all the time. When my players know what they're supposed to do, they can focus on it more. They feel more comfortable in it. They don't like surprises. You see that with the players all the time. They just want to know that they are starting that day or that they are going to be playing on these days, getting rest on that day, etc. It's the same thing with closers. I would be surprised if we saw a lot of disruption there.
Don't mess with those working.
I was when Dylan Tate got drafted by Texas. I was, I just thought they had picked the perfect
Yankees
thing.
Got him for Beltran.
I know
that was insane.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I've been a huge Tate fan for a while, and I just hope they, he could stay healthy. I wanted to see him in the World Baseball Classic, but he was injured, and just love to see some Dylan Tate out there in whatever capacity, because I think he's just way too talented. I'm glad he returned to the Orioles.
And then we have a question here. I think he's moving around here.
Cole Reagans.
Cole Reagans all day.
Should I draft Bobby Miller or Cole Reagans? All right, then you got
Cole Reagans.
Yeah.
If it would have said, should I draft Mother Teresa or Cole Reagans? It's Cole Reagans. It's just. Oh yeah, Cole Reagans is all.
That's not going to work.
I know. Have you not seen Mother Teresa throw a baseball? Oh my god!
Clearly not. Bobby Miller, I also really do enjoy. Actually, I've had multiple drafts where I got both Miller and Reagans one after another. Especially in the back half of a 12-teamer in the 5th, 6th.
Wow.
And I'm a huge fan of that. But yeah, Cole Reagans to me, I think a scout said left-handed DeGrom, and he's amazing.
Wow. So he's going to get injured.
So his career's already over.
Apparently that he gets injured. That's later on. That's like in 2 years.
Got it. All right. But Bobby Miller.
27. Reagan's not.
Yeah, Bobby Miller is great, but Cole Reagans is everybody loves some Cole.
All right.
Yes.
So yes, I will throw a little bit of a fire in for the Kimbrel. I obviously got to see him quite a bit last year. Wasn't overly excited when the Phillies signed him, but he showed he still had some in the tank early on, but then he kind of faded, and he gets a lot of the blame for the collapse in the NLCS. I think it was more the manager's decision to actually put him out there knowing that he was cooked, but I'm hopeful for him this year. I've always kind of been a Kimbrel fan, once he left Atlanta. But he's been dominant in his career. I think he can find something again. I do like Cano's upside as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they use him. They've already defined it as Kimbrel being the closer. So I think that's a step in the right direction for him mentally to be in that role. So, all right. So, speaking of my boy, Aaron Nola here, should we be considering Mr. Nola as an ace / SP1? Is this another like, hey, we're gonna put this question here and see if Dickhead's gonna read it? Is that what you guys were doing?
No.
Yeah.
You wanted the Nola question, we left it in. I just
on to your
reworded it.
games. Dap, start us off, please.
You're not gonna
So
get much love from him either.
in MLB The Show 2024, which is the preeminent ranker video game, they just released Aaron Nola with an 87 ranking. I mean, that's behind Zach Wheeler and Trey Turner and JT Realmuto. So you got to kind of wonder if they know something about whether or not Aaron Nola. No, I'm kidding. So look, he looks amazing.
Second best
Are they
pitcher.
as good at ranking as Madden is? 'Cause-
Yeah. So look, he looks amazing doing spring training. I don't know if I'm willing to. I mean, look, the upside's great. The team looks fantastic, but I don't know if I'm willing to put the price that's needed there. The strikeout's been dropping every year. The Ks per nine, and he just seems to be giving up the long ball. But again, non-scientifically, even years seem to be good for Aaron Nola. So yeah, 2024. I honestly, Aaron Nola to me, every time I've had him on my team, he's destroyed it. Sorry, AJ. I'm trying not to bring in my own personal feelings about the situation, but it's just, every time I've had Nola, he's destroyed my team, and I never guess right with him. And when he's off,
like
he's
your problem,
off.
not his.
And if you're getting an SP1, though, I want to have a set forget type of situation with an SP1, right? I want to have a person where I'm just putting him into my lineup. I don't have to worry about matchups until maybe later in the season when you find out like one team's just on fire and you want to, hide them from playing in Cincinnati or whatever the case may be. But beyond that, I just don't know if, to me, an SP1 is a set forget. I don't think Nola's that, at least not right now.
All right. Nick, what you got?
Yeah, no, I'm the same way where Aaron Nola was, I think, initially at 11 for me. And I kind of, the reason I put him that high is because he has gone 200 innings with 200 Ks consistently. Like, that's just what he does. He's one of the most reliable starters as far as health and workhorse ability in the majors. And that innately says, look, 200 strikeouts with a whip that does not hurt me and likely more than 11 or 12 wins. That's awesome. Is he going to allow home runs? It's really the big deal. 26 in 2021, 32 in 2023. And the good year blimp was 2022 with 19. Yeah. So I look at his arsenal and I say, all right, he actually has a really flat arm angle and he should be throwing four-seamers upstairs. And guess what? He throws them away and it drives me up the wall. And a lot of batters were started to lean out and do damage on them. He started then to shift and throw sinkers inside to righties finally. And he actually had success with that. And I think there is a world where he does lean into that more often. Unfortunately, I don't really think he's ever going to be that high four-seamer guy. But he should be better than last year. And I have him at 16, something like that. Isn't he SP1? It's like a 1.5. Like, I don't really want to leave the draft with him as my SP1.
Right.
I just got him in labor with Bobby Miller, both at $18, because that's just better than the other guys at 23. Do I love it? Not necessarily. Would have rather had Reagan's, but he went 21. Fine. But yeah, 18, that's okay. And I'm not going to be targeting Aaron Nola as like my fourth round or something along those lines. But if he falls to the fifth, sixth, I'm very much in, as he should still be good. He's going to have those bad games when the fastball gets hit, and that's just how it is. The curveball's still one of the best curveballs in the game. You should be totally fine with Aaron Nola, just not necessarily as your, the best ace out there.
Yeah. Joe?
I agree.
Yeah, I know. It was more of a,
I know.
sarcastic.
I said,
do I really care
for
what
those of you
think?
ever watch it, the SP Bus show that Dap and I did the other day.
Most recent one sucked.
Nola is one of my busts. And it really isn't that I think he's going to bust, right? I don't think he's going to absolutely be atrocious. It's that I think he's being drafted slightly too high. And so he will bust for where he's getting drafted. And it's more of, everything that's been said. He's a little inconsistent. Everything seems to be going in the wrong direction with him. Strikeouts are going down. He had the whip isn't bad, but it did rise again. I had him, Nick. I had him in inside my top 10 initially too, for the exact same reasons. And I wrote about it and was like, yeah, I mean, he's a workhorse. I mean, what's wrong about that? Like, he's nothing crazy special, but we know what you're getting from him, and like sometimes that is valuable, right? That safety net is valuable. You know what to build it around. But I think there's going to be guys that are just going to perform better than him at the end of the day. Like, and when the whole season's done, we're going to look back and go, yeah, he was SB 15. That's fine. Yeah. And that's what it is. So,
yeah, I mean, obviously I like Nola, but I agree. I don't think he is an SP1 for fantasy reasons, unless he falls far enough where it's like, all right, I need to take one here.
Cole Reagan.
Then
what?
then
Ryan's like 70 years
go.
old. Yeah.
Yeah. He still throws heat, man. Dude, he does. I'm telling you. No one's got mileage and 200 strikeouts a year like good old Nolan.
He's just not Cole Reagan's. That's the problem.
That's true. That's true. I mean, he's not a lefty DeGrom, so sorry,
There it
Nolan.
is.
You're out. All right. Well, the name we just mentioned here briefly is Yamamoto. So let's look into him here next. His ADP is just climbing and climbing. So I want to get everybody's opinion on him. Or are you guys all in on the Phenom, or do you think the value has gone too high at this point, Joe?
It's way too high. In fact, it's actually gone up since we last talked. Dap. He's now SB 8.
Oh God.
Keeps going. Stop it, people. Could it be awesome? Absolutely, but man, you are paying for the absolute ceiling at this point. It's no way that this returns good value for you. I don't know. Sure, he had great success over in Japan. Could it come over? Sure, but like the projections, I know it's hard to project, right? These Japanese pitchers that come over, projections are what they are. If that's what his projections are, there's no way he returns the value. Even if he's, a 180 innings and 180 strikeouts with a 3.5 ERA and a 1.1 WHIP, still is an SB8. Like, it's just not happening.
Yeah. All right.
It's just hype at this point. It's just, man, I want him more than this guy, so I'm gonna go get him. It's hype. It's gonna come crashing back down. I have a feeling eventually, but right now it's out of control.
Nick, what do you think? Reagan's or Yamamoto?
Reagan's. No. So I mean, the thing about Yamamoto, this is what I say to a lot of guys is when it comes to like a lot of the top 20 pitchers, I honestly say, look, get the guy that you want to watch the most. And obviously, I want to watch Cole Reagan's every single time. And I can understand people wanting to get Yamamoto because it's fun. Fantasy baseball is all about fun and enjoying it. So that's if you want to go yet for Yamamoto, go ahead. I think he's capped around 150 innings because it's a 10-year deal, and the Dodgers are going to treat this 24-year-old and be like, yeah, we're not going to overthrow you. And that seems pretty part of a cap. And
it's a hangnail, you can't pitch for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, somehow they got Epler on it though. Not I don't understand. The whole Dodgeritis. So what I'm getting at here is Yamamoto has to be so much better. He needs to be everything we've always dreamed of for him to really come through at that ADP at 150 innings. And that just does not make sense to me. Look, if you want to compare it to Aaron Nola, 200 strikeouts for Nola, 150 for Yamamoto. That's 50 strikeout gap. Is Yamamoto going to make that up in ERA and WHIP? He's not going to make it up in WHIP likely because Nola's a WHIP god. Like, he had a 115 in his bad year last year. He doesn't walk enough batters and he doesn't have a massive hit per nine. Like, it's not going to happen there. So is the ERA really going to be that much of a gap to justify this with Yamamoto? And I say no. So I'm going to have Yamamoto probably around like 18 or so.
All right. Dap, what do you think?
I think the other part, and this is again nitpicky here, right, is that Yamamoto was playing in a dome stadium. Almost all of his games in Japan. I'm going to be really interested to see how he deals with the humidity when he's going to Arizona and when he's starting to travel to some of the other places, with the outside, especially during the heat of the summer. We've seen some of the other pitchers that come over from various locations, really dealing with that heat and humidity, especially. So that's going to be really interesting to me as well. Again, it's price to me, right? Yes, I would love to watch Yamamoto play and be like, hey, I'm getting those stats. But if he's at SP9, heck, anything within SP15, I don't know if I'm willing to take that risk because it's also risk management, right? I'm going to have fun. I'm going to lose to Nick in every league that we play, but am I going to, have acceptable risk while doing it? And that's going to be the big thing there. And at that, again, there's not much value and upside there that I'm going to feel good about that. And the one other thing too, like they were talking about, right? They're are they going to start pulling them out at 5 innings, or are they going to cap them at 5 innings per start? Are you going to be able to get that quality start in those leagues that you're looking at quality starts? Again, looking at it from a fantasy perspective, right? Or you're looking at a QA3 where, okay, QA3, then you're solid. But so you started having to play with those variables. You're not going to see how the Dodgers really play with or manage him this year. And there's a lot of ifs there for me to, again, at an SP9, which is what we're drafting him, that's going to be your SP1, maybe SP2 on your thing. And you cannot kind of have that many question marks with that player.
I do want to clarify. You should beat me at fantasy. I focus on pitching, and I've realized that these days that I am not a great fantasy player for the whole season anymore. I'm much better at starting pitching stuff and hitter and relievers. I don't spend the time like I used to. So listen to Dap Scout a lot when it comes to fantasy baseball season and everything like that. I got you for pitchers, but everything else, Dap Scout's got you.
I have your. Yep. Okay. I just finished sending that money to you, so you got that. You got that Zelle transaction. I just want to make sure you got that, Nick. Before that, I felt bad. Okay, you keep going. Yeah. I'm sorry. So go ahead.
I heard another thud. Okay, so Yamamoto.
It was the phone, AJ.
Yeah, well, so he dropped his phone.
Reese would take Miller over.
He's trying to get Nick to pick it up.
It's pretty close for me.
Anyway,
we got a question here. Klinger. I have Strider in the last year of my keeper league. Should I target Garrett Cole with my first pick? He also says he's got Strider, Grayson.
No, absolutely not.
Connor Green.
Get a hitter.
No, yeah.
You got too many. Yeah, man.
You got a lot of good pitchers.
Unless it's some way, it's a points league and you get somehow way more some crazy points for number of innings pitched or something like that. There's absolutely no reason you should be going with it.
The first pitcher available is Spencer Steer. No.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely go hitter in most cases, I would say. So,
yeah.
All right.
All right. Next question up here. We've got Mr. Blake Snell in fantasy drafts. He's not, he's not signed yet, but he is. He's trying to get signed. He's now agreed to shorten the deal so he can get on a team. Are we worried about him getting a late start this spring, Nick? Or are we just, it's Blake Snell. He's coming off Cy Young year. He's going to pitch, 5 innings a day.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of times where guys have had late starts and how quickly they were able to get into it. I remember Jake Arrieta for a moment signed late. And I don't think it really messed him up. I mean, Blake Snell's obviously doing whatever routine he needs to do on his own at this moment. He's not just twiddling his thumbs and live streaming, right? He's doing prep work at the moment. I wouldn't say that should steer you away from Blake Snell if you were really in on it before. Personally, I mean, I was one of the biggest voices saying look, Blake Snell deserved the Cy Young because what he did last year, he deserved success. He has what we call the lowest mistake rate, which is us essentially saying with our pitching model, he threw the fewest pitches in the zone that had double the chance to allow a hit. So much better than even second place. He had a 3% mark, and Kodai Senga had a 4.3. And that was second place, 50% worse. So it was by design. It's so hard to replicate that. He was towing the line with this massive walk rate and just executing the right pitches at the right time. Yeah, he's not going to replicate that again. This is not something I want to buy into. I already had him at around I don't know, I want to say 30 or 28. And I might even have it a little bit lower now that I'm more in on, say, Justin Steele and Yu Darvish than I was before. So, I've not found a situation where I've been able to draft Blake Snell, and I don't really expect to find one.
Yeah. Dap, what do you think?
So you're ready. So 2023 is an outlier in a lot of different ways, obviously, because he was towing such an incredibly thin line there between greatness and just having a terrible showing in some of those games if you're watching them. But at the same time, too, if you're drafting thinking he's going to do 180 or even 165 plus innings this year, you're crazy to begin with. I mean, the 180 innings pitch was a real outlier for the last couple of years as well. So first of all, it's kind of like one of those things where you were not, you're drafting him and expecting to have great starts when you get him, but also you're going to have that an IL stint or 6 or something of that nature. Because I mean, it's par for the course. It's baked in that price with the genius that is Blake Snell. So if anything, this kind of in my mind would work for him, right? Because it allows him to start off and then have that longer off season. But again, I'm not so worried when you have these veteran pitchers that do this, right? Because it's almost like a lot of them is to use a football analogy, right? Where a lot of veterans also try to skip off season workouts. A lot of these guys are already doing their own thing. They know what to do. They know how to get themselves ready. They know how to do those things. If they have been working on a new pitch, then that's something else. But I don't think Blake Snell's coming into anything new. So I'm not that worried about that. I am worried if I'm buying him where they're talking about in the first 5 rounds about getting anywhere near what you're getting 2023. If you're drafting for 2021, where you're getting, kind of the higher strikeouts, decent whip, and again, you're, something around 11.5 plus K per 9, then great. But if you need anything else there, if you're really needing those wins or things of that nature, Blake Snell's not that guy. He's going to help you really help you in your peripherals. He's going to help you with your Ks, help you with your whip and all those things. But you're going to have to balance out the fact that you're going to not have him all season. And that was going to happen even before he didn't sign. So if that wasn't already baked into your mindset, you shouldn't be drafting him that high to begin with.
Yeah. The one aspect I would add there is the whip was 119 last year. And he's not a whip guy. Like he's constantly it is going to pull you down.
Yep.
Right. But like the strikeouts are going to absolutely be there. You're pretty much expecting the ERA to as well. But that always messed me up because he's walking so many batters. He's not allowing the hits, but he's walking more, and not fun.
I mean, his BABIP last year dropped to 256, career low.
That he deserved that, right?
The left on base percentage 86%, really high numbers here. Like the luck factor, like you guys are saying, came into it, and all the expected numbers were a lot higher. So I mean, and the projections show that, right? I mean, the projections show ERA is going to go up, whip's going to go up, strikeouts will still be there. If you can get 160 innings out of him, that these projections are showing, then that's fine. SP 20-ish range, you'll live with that, I guess. But yeah, there's a huge risk. You'd probably be lucky to get 130 innings out of him. That's kind of where he's been at for quite some time outside of last year. So,
all right, Nick, I have a follow-up question for you real quick. If Cole Reagans gave you 99 walks, do you think he could still pull off 2.25 ERA?
No.
What? I thought Cole Reagans could do no wrong.
Unless he gives up 99 walks.
He's not gonna have the same walk rate.
But what if he just walked people because he's like, this is too easy, and he's like, I'm gonna just walk some people because
then honestly I'd be out because he's gotta have a better mentality on the mound.
He's just gonna signal to the umpire.
He's like, this is too easy.
No, this is a free pass.
Blake Snell had the most walks out of any qualified pitcher last year.
God.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, again,
by quite a bit too. Charlie Martin was next with 83.
Again, I do want to emphasize the fact that Blake Snell did this by throwing really great pitches in the zone, right? He nibbled endlessly and never gave in, which can work at times. It was a give and take. It was by design in that way, and it went in his favor. I'm not saying it's going to again, but you have to, those numbers are ridiculous. but it's also with the context of not like the average pitcher doing this. It's a guy who threw the fewest mistakes in the zone than anyone else.
So have you always been against people that nibble? I just want to make sure I understand that.
I called it neckbeard approach of Dallas Keuchel, where he just goes around the zone and makes a neckbeard. And actually, that's what Jordan Montgomery did in the playoffs.
Chad saying Snell gives me massive.
Hey, there you go. Right, and I
yeah.
understand that for that reason. It's what Jordan Montgomery was able to do in the playoffs that he wasn't able to do all season. He tries to all the time. Why I'm out on Montgomery. It is so difficult to be that precise and meticulous. Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
Dap's going to shave his regular beard and come back with just a neck beard next week. Stay tuned, everybody.
I'm gonna just go all neck.
Back?
Straight neck.
Well,
so Joe, you kind of touched on the point I wanted to make about Snell. You mentioned his left on base percentage at 86.7 last year. He had nearly identical stats in 2018 when he had his first Cy Young at 88% left on base. The only time it was worse was in 2020. Granted, he only pitched 50 innings because it was a shortened season. So if you take his 2020 season innings pitched and his 2017, he still has pitched less innings combined in those 2 years than either of his Cy Youngs. That just goes to show this guy's never pitching innings. I mean, he's never going to be there for what you're drafting him. And, you have to just hope that he puts it together and somehow toes the line again. I just don't think I'm willing to take the dive on him and in the F6P series draft, like he just sat there and
he comes up on the
seat.
draft.
He's like sitting right at the top. I'm like, no, I'm good.
I mean, let me clarify. Like left on base percentage, a high left on base percentage, like isn't necessarily like, oh man, it's not like a the kiss of death, right? It's
exactly.
It means that you've got like it means you're probably allowing like a hit or a walk every pretty regularly, and then like you've got strikeout potential to get these guys out. We see guys like Cole and Senga and Morton and Kikuchi and all these guys at the top that have high left on base percentage. Of course, Snell led last year. So, but there is that does mean that you're adding risk to your game, because if those guys come around and score, obviously that's bad. Yeah. So there's just you've got to just factor all that in when deciding what kind of pitcher you're really expecting these guys to be, and can they replicate that? Somebody like Cole, I will say, I can replicate it time and time again because we've seen it with Snell. It hasn't happened time and time again, so I'm kind of out on him right now.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the luck factor, 18 was actually his career low in BABIP at 241. Last year was a 256.
Right, yeah.
So both Cy Young years, he's had extreme luck on his side to be able to net that. I mean, he was good, but I just don't trust him enough to be able to get back to that point. So I am passing on Mr. Snell. So next question up here, we've got some smash or pass we're gonna play here with our post breakouts. We've got Mr. Terry Skubal. I feel like there should be some like fun music or something.
That was this your idea.
Zach Eflin. We got,
what the hell is that?
That'll work.
No,
Bobby
turn it off.
the loop, damn it. Bobby Miller, Kodai Senga,
amateur producer,
and Justin Steele. All right, smash or pass. Dap, I assume this is your question, so we'll start with you.
I didn't write it, but okay. So Skubal is my favorite out of all these guys. My only concern with Skubal, of course, is they're going to figure out whatever they did to his flexor tendon back almost 2 years ago now. They're going to dig into that and find out that they like used like some gorilla like tendon or something, because when he came back, he was completely different. His fastball was up at almost 2 miles an hour. But if you want to talk about who I love the most on this list, is because I still think there's value there, is Zach Eflin. Also because if we talk about also from a fan perspective, who I really want to watch, right, is Zach Eflin has a 6-pitch mix that is, he controls almost all the pitches. He finally has a fantastic defense behind him. Sorry about that, Phillies, but he has a fantastic defense behind him, and he has a fantastic defense that we actually know they're going to play. We had the big Franco mess last year, so he was supposed to be considered kind of that shortstop defender, and now they lost him, and they were kind of trying to figure that out. Now they have a very solid defending core, which they continue to show, obviously, because it's always the Rays. So you have elite defense, a guy that can throw 6 pitches, and I think he's just going to continue to grow. I don't think it was a mirage what we saw last year, even though Tampa Bay just seems to be, we're close to Disney, so we make all dreams come true. But at the same time, from a fan perspective and from an overall fantasy perspective, I think there's more value there. But Skubal by far is the best guy there out of this list.
All right, Joe.
I'm in on Steele, Eflin, and Skubal. I'm leaning toward yes on Miller, and I'm sort of out on Senga. Like, the one thing that scares me with Senga is like talking about walking batters. Like he walked a lot too. 77. He was really high up on that list. So that kind of scares me for where he's going as well. Plus he's also got the injury already. So kind of out on him. But the other 4 I like a lot with Skubal and Eflin is my top 2 out of this list as well.
Nick, smash or pass? Who you got? We know you like
Miller. Senga is a shoulder strain, and I don't want to mess with shoulder strains.
Yep.
So I'm just not interested in Senga at the moment. Big fan of Skubal, moving up the ranks a lot, not just because like last year increased 2 ticks, but now he's another 2 ticks. He's up to 97 plus now. Wow. What? It's unbelievable. And I don't know what gorilla tendons are and why we'd want them, but I'm gonna look into that now. And then Zach Eflin, I'm agreeing with you guys that like that's a really good value. I thought it would see him closer to the top 15 or so. I'm seeing him like at 20 and change. Works for me. Justin Steele, I'm raising up in my ranks because his slider grades out as one of the top 5 stuff sliders for us, which I didn't realize as well. He generally locates as well. And it's a good four seam that acts like a cutter. He spots it well. He was just experimenting with a changeup and I think a sinker too, and finally having something that goes arm side. But yeah, I was more out on him before, and now I'm raising him up closer to like 26 or so from like 30. And Bobby Miller, I'm a big fan of. I think Bobby Miller is just going to get better. And his stuff is just insanely good, and his command's good, and it's a great team context. And like, it's what Yamamoto wants to be, really, is what Bobby Miller is, kind of. And I know more about Bobby Miller and what he can be. And I'd rather take him. So, yeah, I'm in on 3 of these, 3.5 with Steele, and then out on Senga.
Yeah.
If Senga didn't have the shoulder, would you be in on him?
Not really. I worry about the whip.
That's why I put him on here.
And I mean, I went back and forth of like, so how Senga works is, of course, we talk about the ghost fork. That's awesome. But he only does it in, when he's ahead in the count, right? And it's a huge thing I have been trying to make a PSA about. I just did it with Bubba. Is I see a lot of people, especially with Senga's ghost fork, characterizing it. And you're not doing this, guys. Is by characterizing it as a good pitch because of its xWOBA or its any sort of result stat, like an average, when it is always going to be good because he's not going to throw it with 3 balls and it's out of the zone. So if they're swinging at it, it's not going to be good for the batter. So it's going to be a strikeout or a weak contact or something like that. It's very rare to allow damage on that kind of pitch. So don't use that number. Use instead strike rate. How often does he get strikes with it? Or what is the ICR on it? Or what's the swing strike rate on it? And he doesn't have a high strike rate on that forkball. It's like a 54%, which is really low, which means that Senga needs to rely on 4-seamers and cutters. And he does not command the 4-seamer well. And that's the biggest knock I have against Senga. It profiles out as a pitch that should succeed upstairs really, really well, but it's just a scatter plot shotgun blast, and that's not great. However, he has this cutter that he just throws in the zone like 70% of the time for strikes, and it doesn't really on its own like look that good in a vacuum. It's like, yeah, it's just a kind of normal cutter, but it performs so well. And at first I was like, well, that's not going to happen again. This is ridiculous. And then I thought, well, maybe because he throws his fastball just kind of all over the place, batters just can't figure out which is the cutter, which is the four-seamer. And
Wait,
it
this is where
makes
we're
them get all
supposed
this
to?
weak
Dang it.
contact.
Yeah.
And it messes them up. So that actually might be somewhat sustainable. So I went back and forth on that, but at the end of the day, I mean, I understand the narrative of like Senga started the year and he was getting comfortable, and so he had all these walks and he was just a cherry bomb and all that kind of stuff. And then the last 3 months or so, 3.5 months, he all of a sudden locked in, lowered the walk rate a lot more, and was a much better pitcher and was not like a 125 whip guy. He was more like a 112 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a part of me that's leaning in favor because of it. But at the end of the day, it's just weird. And I don't like weird. Anytime I feel like it doesn't tell the story that I can quite understand, I just say no.
AJ,
and I
I
go
was
away.
thinking the exact same thing. I'm glad you said it first.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I don't
that
like
was
weird.
easy.
Oh, I got you.
Thanks, Nick.
Unbelievable, guys.
Thanks, Nick.
Chad's
Appreciate
over
that, man.
here saying, "Am I the only person in the world who thinks Miller
Yes,
won't even
you
be
are,
remotely
Chad.
solid?"
Yes.
What is it
Apparently.
about what is it about Bobby Miller that you don't like?
You know, Bobby Miller also volunteers his time at orphanages. He has done all kinds of things for the homeless population, and for you not to like him is kind of ridiculous.
He can
he
also
wanted
be
to be
found in
Bobby's
parks
unfurled.
trying to play chess because his name's Bobby. People just assume that he's good.
I got the Bobby Fischer joke. I played in tournaments when I was like,
Thank you.
Believe it or not.
Sometimes my
I'm all
humor is
for it.
lost on the other dullards in the room, but it's
Oh
okay.
man, searching for
Yes,
Bobby
we all
Fischer's a
get
great
Bobby
movie.
Fischer. Yes, yeah, okay.
Whatever, weirdo. Sorry, you're not liked. Next question. All right, who do we think?
You sound like my mom right now.
Good.
Oh,
Who do we think's going to emerge from this group of number fives?
I'm gonna
We've
let you
got
guys argue about
Bryce
this one. I don't have any
Elder.
idea. I'm not gonna lie.
We've
Lopez.
got
I got you.
Ronaldo
This is easy.
Lopez. We've got great first name Smith Shawver and Hurston Waldrep for the Braves. Nick, what do you think?
So I think right now it's Elder's job to lose. It's like Elder shows up and is like, "Yo, here's 4 innings of 0-run ball." Like they're gonna say, "Okay, fine. I guess we'll just go with Bryce Elder."
Yeah.
But if I think who's the better one, it's gonna be Ronaldo Lopez. I don't think that Bryce Elder is that great. It's just sinker slider, and the days when he can actually spot a slider down in glove side and keep his sinker arm side, it works. But Ronaldo just looks like a better pitcher, better four-seamer. He's throwing enough strikes with a slider right now in spring training. AJ Smith-Shawver is interesting. It increases four-seamer velocity. It looks good. He has a fuller pitch mix, but he's still young, and the command isn't quite there yet.
Yeah.
They're obviously going to wait on that one. Like you have Elder already who has given innings for Atlanta. They're going to utilize that as much as they can until they say, okay, fine, this isn't working anymore. And we're not at that point. Or Reynaldo is just gonna be like, yeah, that's mine. It's cool. Hurston Waldrep is a reliever. And I saw him in Dunedin, and it's really funny. I say that, and it's like that doesn't change anything. It's when I watched it on video. I was at that game, and like I realized how bad I am at the game to really do the scouting because my reference point is behind the pitcher with the camera, not like the side view of him. Like, I don't know. Now Hurston Waldrep is a max effort, bad command pitcher. It's unbelievable how much movement is going on in his delivery at the very end of it. And he doesn't know where it's going. There's no way this pans out in my view until he changes something with that. And that's a reliever to me. He could be a great reliever, could be like a Mark Wohlers thing with the fastball splitter in old Atlanta lore. Yeah, this is going to be Elder or Lopez. Lopez becomes a really interesting late arm if he wins that job because you want to pitch for Atlanta. You get more wins, good defense, all that fun stuff. But watch it between Elder and him. If it's Elder, I think, okay, good matchups, I guess.
I mean, we'll probably see 2 of them at some point. You know,
Yep.
Chris Sale.
Well, what might happen is it might be AJ Smith-Shawver by then.
Yep.
Yeah,
So
sure.
if Elder doesn't get it, that means he's just not looking that great, and they might not even like hold on to him. They might have him as a 6-man or something. If it gets to the point that Elder gets ousted, it's a situation where they say, yeah, you're just not good enough. And we don't trust you with the 5th job. We're going to give it to Brady then. So you might see AJ Smith-Shawver come up at that point.
All right, Joe, what do you think?
I already said I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. I literally don't have a clue.
I'll
just trust Nick on this one.
So with AJ Smith-Shawver, right? If you're in the dynasty leagues, you remember drafting him and thinking, okay, a couple years from now, and he flew up through the minors, went through, 3 levels. I think he did like 34, 35 innings pitched through 3 levels, and he got pushed too far too fast. He's got 4 great pitches, and he's a future starter for Atlanta. I just don't think it's this year. I think he needs to have a little bit more time in the minors to work on some stuff, especially his changeup, which was one of his least used secondaries, but got like the most amount of whiffs out of all of them. If he could just really hone that in and become, maybe his second used pitch, or use it to set up his fastball and other things, that changeup is deadly. And he has 4 pitches, and I think being able to really trust them, the secondaries at really key situations would really help him out a lot. Again, he's going to be 22 this year, so I'm not that worried about him, but I think he's the future for sure. But at the same time, it's Atlanta. They have so many darn pitches. It's like the Baltimore situation. But at the same time, I agree with Nick 100%. I think it's, Shawver's probably going to end up in the minors. I think he should be in the minors, but I think he'll be up pretty soon, especially as Sale's 3rd start after he gets hurt on his 3rd start, gets pulled early and ends up on the IL for 2 months, give or take.
Yeah, somewhere around there usually.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't really like the Braves, so I don't really have anything to add. Other than I traded Elder last year for Sonny Gray, and it worked out better in my favor.
Oh, nice.
Down the stretch.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. It was Elder and Marlins outfielder.
Brian De La Cruz.
Yes, De La Cruz.
I named the hitter guy.
For Sonny
Pull
Gray.
that out. Look at you, Nick.
Write that timestamp down.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't look at hitters, but you just talk about some vague description. I'll pull it out real quick. Yeah,
He's the only one I can remember.
Wearing a uniform, held a bat a lot. Brian De La Cruz. Yep, totally nailed it.
He likes big league chew gum. Brian De La Cruz. Got it.
Yep. Yes. All right. So we're gonna look into a popular sleeper here. That's Mr. Brady Singer.
I wrote this one.
Added a sweeper this year, so this has created quite a few swings and misses during spring training so far. Dap, since you wrote this, we will end with you. Joe, we'll start with you. Are you moving him up your draft board at all, knowing that Dap likes him?
I mean, sure. I'll take a late round stab at him. Like he's somebody who I feel like has always gotten a lot of hype. And he's been okay. 2022 was awesome for him, and then last year, like, it all just kind of fell apart. So maybe him adding in a new pitch, having some success in the spring gives people more hope. So maybe I kind of expect, because people know the name, they're going to see success in the spring, that he'll like be a popular late round target. So I probably won't get him, but if he's sitting there, I mean, there's a lot worse things you can get. Grab him and cut him if he just blows up a few times. That's kind of how I feel with Brady Singer. Like, it's just never really super exciting for me. I feel like he's always supposed to have been better than he is.
All right, Nick.
So
Singer.
I want to go over very quickly, generally, like adding a pitch and why you should. Brady Singer is a sinker slider guy. Sinkers are good against the same-handed batter. Okay, you throw that thing inside, goes in and jams them. That's great. Sliders generally also good for same-handed because it goes down and away from them really viciously. It can be if it's more of a gyro slider. There's more of like the one that drops as opposed to the sweeper. Those can be better against opposite-handed than sweepers. A sweeper is another weapon again against a same-handed batter because it goes away from them. It is really bad against opposite-handed batters. So when I think about Brady Singer, and I make the joke in the preseason saying, once again, I'm asking you to find a third pitch for Brady Singer.
Right.
I'm asking for a cutter or a changeup because he needs something against a lefty. A sweeper is not that. A sweeper is another weapon for a righty, which he already has 2 of. That's like his best thing. No, this doesn't change anything for me for Brady Singer. And also you throw in like the team context, which isn't good. Like a guy like Brady Singer, for me to go after it, it needs like all the little pieces need to go right. And I see him as a hipster, headache-inducing pitcher, stifling the entire roster. Where you draft him on your team, you're not going to know what to do with him for, like, as you mentioned, like Joe, like a couple starts or something like that. No, last pick needs to be someone that's like, I want to know first start, 1 start, and like, did I hit the lottery? No, get out of here. Like the first couple weeks are so valuable for your fantasy team. So a guy like Brady Singer, where I just like, you're not, even if you have like that good start, I'm probably not going to see something new that makes me really think that you fixed it.
Or he just has that
We'll
like
probably
good
have
enough
to do
start where
more.
you're like in limbo with him.
Yeah, it's not going to be like a 10 strikeout 5-inning game or something like that, you know? Watch him do that now. I wish he does, by the way. I always want pitchers to be dope, but like it doesn't seem like he's going to. I don't think a sweeper, again, a sweeper was always good for same-handed batters, against same-handed batters where you didn't have a weapon against them. Like if you're a four-seamer changeup guy, sweeper is great. That's why like Michael King, awesome, right? He's more of a sinker, changeup sweeper, but that's the kind of a thing that you want to pair against a changeup, not another slider. So I don't like this.
All right, Dap, floor is yours.
So first off, I'm in on Singer, definitely. There's a couple of reasons why, but if we're talking about the last pick, if you're trying to get that, last pick of the, you definitely want a Cardinals outfielder called Victor Scott. I'm just letting you know, everybody watching, if you want that last pick, Victor Scott for sure is your guy. Now, why do I like Brady Singer? There's a couple of reasons. One, he tried a whole bunch of new things mechanically last year. He also got injured, his back hurt as well. And did not have a normal offseason last year. So when he was trying new things mechanically, he kept tinkering, and obviously it didn't work out. So he threw away a lot of that stuff. And when you see that, right, especially with a veteran pitcher like Singer, you started seeing a little bit of improvements. Definitely saw some of the strikeouts tick up. It's all about how you, again, look at it from the fantasy's perspective, right? How you set up your team. If you set up your team where you have people that could definitely help you with the ERA, hopefully don't mess you up with the whip. If you have, drafted Snell earlier, then you need to be careful here. Singer's going to be somebody who definitely has potential here as well. Yes, you're absolutely right. The sweeper is not going to necessarily get you anywhere, but for what I loved about some of the off-season things, it's not necessarily what they're saying, it's how they're saying it. And what I loved about some of Singer's comments, especially, was the reason why he added new pitch, the reason why he messed with his repertoire, the reason why he was looking at going back to basics on his his off season, and also mechanically how he's releasing the ball. Is he said, I sucked, plain and simple. And I love that, the fact that he's owning that, not like, hey, I just need a little minor tweak. No, he was terrible. So I think that, plus the fact actually the team that he's going to does help. He's with the Royals. There's not a lot of people pushing him for that rotation spot. I mean, there's a Cole somebody or other in one of those spots, but other than that, okay. So he's not going to get pushed out. I think he has a pretty solid hold on a rotation spot. Right. I think you have a very cheap lottery ticket, and lottery tickets are the reason why you win fantasy, right? It's not because you just drafted perfectly and you never dropped anybody. This is going to be one of those late round picks that you grab along with Victor Scott, the Cardinals outfielder. And this is definitely going to be the reason why, it's definitely going to round out your entire lineup.
All right. I think it's Ragens. Ragens is the guy you were talking about. Cole something.
Cole Raging Cajun. I apologize.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So
this hurts so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Oh no.
He threw up in his mouth.
All right. So yes, let's just wrap things up here. We've gone a little long here, so I think we go into the favorite late round sleepers position here for pitchers in general. Nick, as the guest, we will start with you. Who is your favorite late round sleeper pick?
Brady
It's
Singer.
kind of funny how I don't have like the absolute answer right now. There are like so many that are jostling for positions. I can just list like all of the ones in my head. And I'm going to steal all of your things, and that's just not fair. So what I am going to do, I'm going to do this one last to cover all the ones that you guys didn't miss, because I want to make sure you have the time to list the ones that you
Well,
want.
we have you first on the slide, so you have the choice.
That's awesome. All right, fine. I'm going to steal everything.
Yes.
Pay attention to the Red Sox. You have Garrett Whitlock and Tanner Houck. Both of those guys have rotation spots now with Lucas Giolito out. I think both of them are such good ads because they are going to be able to go 6 innings constantly. You have DL Hall in there as well. You have also Tanner Houck's like throwing harder than anyone else in camp with the Red Sox apparently, and I'm just so excited to see that one. DL Hall's a super fun one. He is like the SP2 for the Brewers right now. Wait, you can believe that? Like Wade
Is that a
Miley's
good
50-50
thing?
to not even make it. That's a great thing. That means he has security.
Yeah, I mean,
And they
I'm
believe in
kidding.
him
I'm
for
just
it.
like, man, that's
I actually, when the trade happened, I thought that DL Hall was more of like just a 4-seamer slider guy without good fastball command, and I looked more into it. He also had his changeup that was great, and there was a lot more strikes than I expected. AJ Puck is also kind of similar to him, and he pretty much is confirmed to have the number 4 spot for the Marlins right now. Wide repertoire there, really good fastball. I mean, these are the kind of guys like you'll be able to see right away. Is this something that I'm really into? Mackenzie Gore is looking great. Also, 4-seamer velocity is up. He's also elevating his 4-seamer finally, because the Nationals were last year saying, yeah, we don't want to allow high fastballs because those allow home runs. Even though his 4-seamer works better upstairs and it drives me up the wall. I could list a lot more, but keep an eye on those guys.
Joseph.
I am going with Dap's, one of Dap's favorite, Brandon Pfaadt. Not the greatest season for him last year, but really started to show signs of life late last year, and I'm kind of expecting that to carry over and him be more consistent coming into this year. I mean, the guy had a huge, he was a big pitcher everybody was talking about last year, like, oh man, should I stash him and blah blah blah. Like, there's a reason for that, right? I mean, people really like this guy. He's got a good pedigree, great prospect coming up, and just sort of like it just didn't work, right? And unlike Grayson Rodriguez, he went back down, came back up, and was awesome. It didn't quite happen for Pfaadt that way. It kind of all came together right at the very end. So maybe that's it clicked enough for him that I'm just kind of hoping it'll and you can still get him pretty late in drafts. I want to say his ADP right now is 206. So that's pretty late.
All right, Dap, who you like?
I like Tampa Bay to do their magic yet again. Aaron Savali. So Ryan Bloomfield, Ryan BHQ on Twitter, has this phenomenal chart that I referenced in our sleepers video as well. So in the 13 games in Cleveland versus the 10 in Tampa, let me just show you the improvements that happened, right? So his walk percentage went from 7.2% to 5.6%. K rate, Jesus, 19% to 29.3%. K per walk percentage, 11 to 23. Swinging K, which is great, even just 1%, 10 to 11.5, and then this CSW percentage. I don't know who came up with this.
Yeah,
but
what is that?
Yeah, it's CSW. I mean, anyways, was improved from 29% to 30%. So again, just it wasn't one start, 10 starts. Tampa Bay again, just doing it, and you have a incredible defense behind you. I think this is all pointing up, and again, people haven't shown that they've kind of bought into this. His value's still quite low. I think we're looking outside. I think it was we looked last, Joe. I think it was 175 or so in some of the picks. So again, I'm all in on Tampa Bay, just continuing to turn pitchers around and turn them all into aces.
All right.
210.
210. There you go. I am all over that. Like in the 190, I even pick them around early just because I want to make sure I have him on my team.
Yeah, the to your point, he came on to do like an hour and a half with us. If you want to watch that one, it's me breaking down a start with him. That's on YouTube, and he mentioned that he wants to lean a lot more in that slider this year, which was much
still my
better
heart.
with, the Rays.
All right.
So
this
that
might be
should be
true.
fun.
In the
Yeah, it's Savali could
Yeah.
do really good things. I just
Hype
hope
is,
he's
I think a
able
lot
to
of
be
people
healthy
forget.
for long enough.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna go totally out of the box here, and I'm gonna go with a homer
Oh,
pick.
God.
Shocker. Of
So we're done with the
Christopher
show.
Sanchez. Yes.
Love
Cue
it.
the music.
No, and I didn't
I'm
change
done.
mine. Sorry.
Uh,
Amateur hour here.
Well, so the interesting thing here that
Really
I'm
depth.
looking at is
Change it to manager.
What? Shut
Don't
up.
ask.
Sanchez, who is projected to be the 5th starter for Philly, actually has a higher ADP than both Ranger Suarez and Taijuan Walker, which Walker I can get. I was kind of shocked to see that he was a little bit higher than Suarez, though. I mean, he's got a 24% K rate. I like that. This is coming off of last year in 19 games, 18 starts, just under 100 innings pitched total. 4% walks, walk percentage versus the 24 strikeouts, 57% ground balls. The ERA was mid threes. He's got good stuff. He's introducing a cutter this year. So I think that he's going to be the one that could easily step in ahead of Walker, and he deserves to. Walker couldn't even make a playoff roster, so that shows right there that they trust this guy. He's still young, so the innings cap will probably be there. He's projected around 130 or so innings this year, but if he's sitting there and you're looking for some depth, I think he's a good guy to add. He can get you some good counting stats. And again, it's not just a homer pick; it's fact. Okay, so there you go, people.
If AJ says it, it's got to be true.
Yeah, I don't always need to be right, but everything I say is not always true either. So one of those things could be right.
Love Christopher Sanchez. Throwing James Paxton in there, who's just getting overlooked as like he's starting for the Dodgers out of the gate. Like get that value, and it's going to be there until he gets hurt. Who cares? He gets hurt. It's the last pick in your draft. Whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree.
Does not
And you know
matter.
what? Trade him 3 weeks into the season and don't worry about it then.
Oh yeah, Cutter Crawford's at 253 in NFBC, which is absolutely crazy to me, and I'm such a big fan of that. Edward Cabrera's at 270, and he's looking better with his mechanics right now and actually could be reliable. You have the Tigers of Matt Manning, Reese Olson, and Casey Mize, and 2 of them are going to be starting. Likely it's Manning, and I don't know who the other one is, but whoever the 2 are, honestly, they all 3 look great right now and could all be very good out of the gate. And Matt Manning is at 95 with a 4-seamer that's kind of looking like Zach Wheeler's at the moment. So with a reliable slider, it's kind of great. So pay attention to those guys too.
Yeah, there's a lot of dudes like in the upper 200s in ADP right now that I'm like,
I'm sorry, Nick. Who got you to go to ecstasy there? What was
Louis Varland? If he's
Louis Varland. Oh my god,
Anthony Descafani. But it's supposed to be Anthony Descafani right now. But just like just watch to see if it's Louis Varland. If it's Louis Varland, that's who you want. Okay.
If you haven't read any of Nick's stuff, him and Louis Varland are like
it's such a good fastball. It's mind blowing. And like, oh yeah, he also has a filthy slider. He's got the full mix. He's got other stuff too. It's
somebody.
Anthony Descafani is like, oh, I just throw a slider in the zone, right? That's all I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, give Nick a hug. Somebody give Nick a hug. I feel bad.
It drives me up the wall. It was his, and then he just swooped in and was like, "Hey guys, I'm Tony Disco." Oh my god.
By the way, your article where you do the day after and you kind of break it out, definitely one of my favorite reads throughout the season.
Oh, the SB Roundup. Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I like
that's
those too.
everything that I do is based on that one article.
Now don't forget, I have to have the key.
Studying from that.
Yeah, all your terminology. You have to have like your terminology key to be like, this is a
you can
cherry
just
bomb.
hover over every bit. It's got a tooltip. Make it so that you can remember. So
sorry.
All there for you. If it's in red, you can just hover over it, and they'll tell you what.
My apologies. Thanks, Nick.
No, I mean we got to make that clear. Clearly,
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and knowing's half the battle.
G.I. Joe.
That was supposed to be a star.
We do have.
So that is
question.
it for our pitcher draft strategy. Nick, thank you for joining us. This was a lot of fun listening to you and Dap gush over each other.
Mostly one way, but thank you.
I was trying to be nice, Dap.
You know, when I meet you, I'll show you all the letters that you've sent me. So
they're all unopened.
You're going to show me in the courtroom, aren't you, Nick?
They're all rubber banded in a safe.
Oh yeah, I meant when you visit the courtroom,
right? Behind the plexiglass. Got it. Okay.
He said
Exhibit A through B squared.
When you put the human hair in there, what exactly? I was like, that's just me showing him that I got Zach Eflin's hair.
It's been wonderful, guys. Man. I enjoy this thoroughly. If you are still listening to this podcast right now, you should be rating and reviewing.
Still watching,
this
apparently. This
on
is phenomenal.
You guys, if you haven't done it yet, go. They put so much work into this. You guys see it clearly. They deserve your 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Go and do that. It goes so far.
Thank you, Nick.
For shows like this, make sure you do.
Well,
much appreciated.
While we've got you here still, let everybody know where they can find you and your stuff and all the great content you put out.
Come on by to PitcherList or just go to playback.tv/PitcherList in the morning, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. I'm live streaming each morning as I get some work done and I watch pitching and answer your questions. So coming up.
All right. And Chad, you're fired. No, just it doesn't allow negative stars. Thanks, dude. No. All right. Well, that's it for the show. Nick, we will bid you adieu, and we'll have to do it again soon.
All right.
Of course.
Thanks,
Take care, guys.
Great having you on again, Nick. Thanks.
Thanks, Nick.
All right. So that's it for the. It's not. Oh, because I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. There we go.
Hey.
I forgot I made a new layout and I thought it would like auto switch back like the old one did. Apparently it didn't. You know, we're learning things. All right, that is it for the show. Next week we're jumping back into offense and doing our outfield preview. So we will be back next Thursday for that one. Until then, have a good night, everyone, and see you then.